Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with Greg Whittle, called into his boss's office. The secretary tells him the boss isn't there yet, and asks him to wait. When the boss arrives, he informs Greg he's fired. Greg doesn't seem to hear it, and when the boss leans in to check on him, Greg suddenly stands up, and pushes him. The boss falls, hits his head, and dies instantly. Panicked, Greg hides the body behind a curtain. The secretary returns, and thinking the boss still hasn't arrived, sends him away. He leaves, promising to come back later. He heads to a bar across the street, and orders a drink. There, a woman at a nearby table, starts talking to him. She reveals she has telekinetic powers, and knows about the incident, because she created the world with unintended consequences. She asks him to go to the restroom, and retrieve some yellow crystals from her unconscious boyfriend. In exchange, she promises to clear him of the murder charges. He goes to the restroom, finds the boyfriend, and takes the crystals from his hand. The woman explains the world is just a reflection of human neurons, and can be changed. As she teaches him about manipulating this fake world, the boss's body, now moving on its own, falls out of the office window onto the street, where a group of office workers see it. Greg arrives, and since he was seen coming from the bar, he isn't suspected. The woman convinces him to forget about his wallet and documents left in the office, and to sell his phone at a pawn shop for a small amount. On TV, the news reports that the police consider the boss's death an accident, so Greg is free, but without a place to stay. The woman offers him a place in a tent city under a bridge, with electricity and a soundless TV. There, Greg learns the boss's death is officially ruled an accident. He starts to enjoy his new life, telling the woman about his dream home, which he always draws. She realizes his drawings resemble her, and reveals that they are a couple in the real world, although he has forgotten her name, Isabel. Meanwhile, his daughter Emily seeks help from her brother Arthur, to find their father. Arthur is reluctant, because he feels abandoned by Greg, who is always too busy with work to spend time with his children. Greg and Isabel go to a roller skating rink, where they have a great time, after taking yellow crystals that enhance their telekinetic powers. She suggests the people around them aren't real, and proposes they knock them over. At first, he hesitates, but soon he starts using his mind to push people around. They find it amusing, and spend hours entertaining themselves this way, until they get bored. As they leave, they steal some clothes, and watch as police arrive at the scene. They teleport themselves into a police car, and have fun driving around, eventually arriving at the police station. They continue their antics, until they grow tired, and decide to leave. Meanwhile, Emily is searching nearby hotels, hoping to find her father. She comes up empty-handed, and later finds Greg at a cafe. Isabel asks Greg to order, while she steps outside. He sees her stopping a car, and getting in, then driving away. He leaves the cafe without eating, unaware that Arthur, his son, has witnessed the scene. The bartender, mistaking Greg for a homeless person, later brings him expired food. Isabel returns, and suggests they visit Kendo, a person who synthesizes crystals, and they separate. Isabel goes inside Kendo's house, while Greg stays outside. Emily finds him, and asks him to come with her. He's unable to leave, waiting for Isabel. Emily forgives him for missing her graduation, and gives him a photo with her home phone number, before she leaves. Isabel returns, and tells him to forget about his daughter, claiming she isn't real. They argue, and a local hooligan intervenes. Greg asks Isabel for a yellow crystal, and uses telekinesis to flip the hooligan's car, demonstrating his growing power. In the morning, Greg wakes up in the tent city, but Isabel is missing. After searching for her, he finds his daughter Emily's photo with a phone number. He heads to the nearest payphone, but receives no answer. Returning to the tent, he is met with Isabel's frustration. She reveals Emily is not real, but a simulation. He struggles to believe this, as she provides no concrete proof. To convince him, she produces special blue crystals, explaining that each of them should take 10 crystals, but there are only 16 in total. She reassures him and herself, saying everything will be fine, and loads the crystals into a device, and hands it to him, signaling it's time to leave the simulation. He inhales the crystals, and finds himself in a stark clinical room, where people are seated in chairs, connected to a computer by breathing tubes. An assistant addresses Isabel as Dr. Clemens, and inquires about her well-being. She complains Greg took the simulated personalities too seriously, necessitating their exit from the simulation. She thanks Kendo for providing the blue crystals. Isabel points out a person in the simulation, who she met in the virtual world, and asks him to disconnect Dr. Whitler. The man hurries to Greg, who starts asking questions, and learns that Emily is also a simulation. They step outside, and Greg is awestruck by the beauty of their real surroundings, where people and strange translucent figures, called telepresence, are everywhere. Isabel explains people have learned to transmit their images remotely, allowing them to interact joyfully, while staying at home. She leads him to the waterfront, and he marvels at the breathtaking scenery. He wonders why he doesn't remember any of this. She reassures him memory loss is a common effect, and his memories will soon be restored. She shows him their home, and he realizes he has been drawing the real world all along. While he enjoys the comfort and luxury of his real home and wife, Emily continues her search for him in the simulated world. In the evening, Isabel confesses to Greg she was irresponsible for exiting the simulation without enough blue returning crystals, which caused his memory loss. She explains the real world was once plagued by extreme pollution and poverty. However, advancements in automation, synthetic biology, and asteroid mining transformed it. She reminisces about his invention, a thought visualizer. She brings out the device's monitor, which can draw whatever a person is thinking about. He names objects, and they instantly appear in the drawings. She uses this to explain how synthetic biology solved ecological problems, and asteroid mining brought financial prosperity. Every person now receives $500,000 a year, and robots handle all the monotonous tasks. This has given people freedom and time to pursue their interests. Earth is now safe and prosperous, but people can become complacent, which is why she invented the brain box. It helps people compare the good with the bad, and appreciate their achievements. Greg pleads with her to stay in the real world for one more day. They spend the day swimming in the sea, and relaxing on a yacht. In the evening, they visit the city, where a scientist, concerned about Isabel's research, approaches Greg. The scientist asks him to keep an eye on her, hinting there might be more to her work than meets the eye. The next morning, she asks Greg to return to the brain box, so she can complete her research. He resists, arguing she already has enough data, and expressing his reluctance to go back to the simulated world. Instead, he agrees to help her by giving a public interview. In the evening, a brain box presentation is organized. The host introduces Isabel, who developed the concept of simulating negative worlds, to help people appreciate their real lives. She calls Greg to the stage, to compare his responses before and after experiencing the brain box. It is revealed he was once a pessimistic and cynical individual, dissatisfied with everything. The new Greg, however, is content and positive. During the interview, he suddenly spots Emily in the hall, and freezes. She quickly disappears, and he thanks Isabel for her help. As the event continues, people gather around her, to speak with the brilliant researcher. Greg, however, sees the translucent figure of Emily again, and chases after her. Emily reminds him that he has a daughter and a son, who love him. Greg insists she isn't real, but she recalls personal and cherished moments from his past, asking him to choose which world he wants to stay in. Torn between the real and simulated worlds, he faces a profound decision about where his true happiness lies. Meanwhile, a commotion erupts below, as Isabel finds herself caught in the center of a chaotic crowd. Pushed and pulled in different directions, she realizes something has gone wrong, and calls for Greg. Emily, who appeared moments earlier, disappears. Greg, taking a yellow crystal, uses his telekinetic powers to part the crowd, but Isabel is shocked. These powers shouldn't work in the real world. The situation intensifies, the boundaries between the real world and the simulation blur. The couple rushes to the lab, realizing that taking an incomplete dose of blue crystals brought part of the simulation into the real world. They need to fix this urgently, but the blue crystals are only available in the simulated world. They lie down in the chairs, and find themselves back in the simulation. Isabel guides Greg to find Kendo, leading him to a bar across from Greg's former office. To his surprise, he sees his former colleagues and the boss, who was supposedly dead, alive. He demands answers, but Isabel pulls him away, reminding him everything around them is fabricated. The couple robs a man of his car and money, to pay for the blue crystals. They drive to Kendo's lab, where he reluctantly agrees to give them the crystals. However, when he reaches for his belt, Isabel, fearing a weapon, shoots him. Kendo turns out to be unarmed, but she finds a packet of blue crystals on his body. The couple flees, just as the police storm the building. As the police chase them, Emily, informed of her father's sighting, finds Arthur, and they head to the tent city. The police surround the camp, demanding the criminals surrender. Isabel counts the crystals, and discovers there are only enough for one person to return to the real world. She charges a special device, and gives it to Greg. He suggests killing himself to return to reality, but she is unsure if it will work. Overwhelmed, She cries, feeling responsible for the mess. Greg then admits this simulated world isn't so bad, he has children here, and he wants to stay. Emily emerges onto a bridge, pleading with her father to surrender and stay alive. He asks to be left in the simulation. Isabel steps out to distract the police and ensures Greg escapes past the camp's perimeter. With the remaining crystals, she flees the scene, using the noise of passing cars as cover. Greg finds refuge in a rehab clinic that accepts people with difficulties. He tells them about a girl who calls him father and believes in her. Later, he meets Emily in a park, where she expresses her joy that he has overcome his struggles, and confesses her love for him. A reflection on how people often seek to escape their problems by imagining a better life. However, it is crucial to remember everyone creates their own inner world, and what is real is determined by the individual. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.